Hey guys, it's Luca with Learning MTG, and today I wanted to do kind of a video of a bigger topic, kind of like a meta strategy thing, which is my approach to life, my approach to mastery. To me, like life and mastery are kind of one and the same thing. Um, when I go through life, I'm trying to master various things, maybe trying to master life itself, and we all come into life with our own different perspectives. One of the things that's really shaped me throughout my life has been my love for strategy, gaming, economics. To me, they're kind of all the same thing. Like microeconomics, strategy games, um, investing, even. It's all a lot of like game theory, a lot of strategy, a lot of resource management. So that's kind of how I approach this. And I think a lot of people that watch my channel, have similar perspective because they're also people that play Magic. So I'm going to kind of explain what I've arrived at currently over the course of my life, how I approach life, how I think about life, how I think about mastery. So, really, I look at things from the perspective of resource management, right? Um, this is kind of the classic idea behind, let's say, economic theory. You're trying to maximize utility. You maybe have, I don't know, you could have labor, or you could have gold, or you could have debt or equity, or all these sorts of different resources, and you want to kind of utilize them to your best ability, exchange them at favorable rates, and so on and so forth. When you're playing a game of Magic, you may have a certain amount of lands in play, a certain amount of cards in your hand, a certain amount of creatures in play, and you want to manage these resources properly. You want to trade your resources properly. So this is kind of my lens for how I view life as well. And so in life, I try to think about, okay, what are the different resources, right? So some resources could be like money, that's a big one, your health, um, relationships that you have with people or businesses. Your reputation is a huge resource, so on and so forth. I'm not going to try to list them all. I think it's going to be very personal to each person. What resources matter to you, and kind of thinking of a hierarchy. One of the big things you learn by thinking about strategy and thinking about resource management is you start to think about, okay, what is the hierarchy of these things? Would I rather be extremely wealthy and be in really poor health, or would I really rather have a great functioning body and be poor? When you start to ask yourself these questions, you can start to think about, okay, how important are these resources relative to each other, and then you can ask questions like, okay, given that, would I be willing to pay a lot of money to have better health, or would I be willing to give up a lot of my health to have more money? And I think it's going to be a little bit different for everyone, but I think these are very important questions to ask yourself that a lot of people don't ask. So let me kind of break down what the conclusion that I've come to over the course of my life. And I'm 31 years old, and who knows, maybe in a few years I'll have a different outlook on things. But to me, the most important resource, whoops, most important is awareness. So this may be getting a little woo woo here, or you could think of this as like consciousness. Um, I think, and it took me a long time to arrive at this, because I think we grow up in a society where we don't value awareness. I think I think in order to value awareness, maybe not, but you may have to have some kind of spiritual view of life. You may have to believe in a higher power, but maybe not. There's plenty of great investors like a Ray Dalio, um, who believe in meditation. I've seen, I think even, maybe there are great athletes that have used meditation, or who believe in being in the moment, believe in having a lot of awareness in as many moments as possible. And they may not necessarily believe in any religion or any spirituality, so it's possible that these ideas can be kind of divorced, but yeah, this is what I've come to. I've come to this being the most important resource. This is like, it's almost like you can ignore everything and just focus on this. And I think that's kind of one of the powers of thinking about things from the perspective of resource management is you can kind of say, okay, I don't have to focus on 100 different resources. I can just focus on this, and then when I solve this, the kind of other things fall into place. So that's kind of the conclusion I've come to. I've come to awareness being the key resource that I think kind of everything follows from that. And what is awareness? It's a weird topic. I think. Well, let me just start with talking about consciousness. I think in our society we don't value it a lot because we have a very strong scientific point of view of seeing the world. And one of the things that comes along with that is we think that consciousness kind of arises from the physical world. We evolved to be conscious. We evolved from, I don't know what, protozoa or single-celled organisms eventually to a point that we became conscious. I don't think science in its current state thinks that like a single-cell organism is conscious. I'm not really sure about that. But basically, consciousness is a result of the world. If the world didn't exist, then there wouldn't be consciousness. That's kind of the view that our culture has. Whereas, more in like the East, and what I prescribe to is the idea that the entire world exists because you are conscious of it, and your consciousness creates the world, right? So it's like reversing that chicken and egg order, where your consciousness is the cause of, the world wouldn't exist if you weren't conscious, if you couldn't experience it. So in a way, if you keep zooming out of your life, maybe you're thinking about like your money, okay, but your money is important because it can take care of your health, okay, but your health is important because it can, maybe create a great life for you. But then, okay, your life wouldn't even exist if you weren't conscious of it. So that's kind of how I see like zooming out to the higher and higher order principles, to the higher and higher order resources. So to me, the most important thing that I can focus on in life is my awareness. It's basically, and a lot of people don't think about this, but that's kind of what you do in meditation, or when you do these different sorts of practices, is you kind of strengthen. It's almost like a muscle. Do you get dragged left to right like a squirrel when something shiny pops up? Can you control where your attention flows? Do you get like road rage and then you start a fight with someone, or can you kind of let that subside and just fade out into nothingness? That sort of thing. So that's what I kind of found in life. I find that awareness is the most important resource, and I think if you can really get good at that, kind of everything else follows more neatly and nicely. And that's just what I've found. I think different people will find different things. Some people will find that financial resources are the most important. Some people may find that taking care of your body is the most important thing. Someone else might find taking care of your family is the most important thing. So that's just kind of what I've found, the conclusion that I've come to. I think I'd also like to talk a little bit about money. I think money is really important for everyone in our society, like living in America and probably in most countries. And so if we kind of zoom in on just this aspect of life, I'll talk about the resources that I've found most important for creating money. I think having an understanding of investing is extremely important. I see kind of creating wealth as two parts, right? There's like a cash flow. On one hand, you need to be able to create cash flow, but on the other hand, the cash flow is no good if you can't invest it properly, right? If you think about this as like a mathematical formula, maybe it's like A times B to the T or whatever. And would be like the quality of your investment, and A would be like the quality of your cash flow. If either of these are really bad, then you're screwed. You're kind of sunk. Um, and I think, yeah, I'd say for money getting, understanding these two things, being able to do both of them um, well is really important. And this is what I would think of as like your resources. Your resources would be like, how much do you understand about cash flow? How much do you understand about investing? And then, the other resources would be less important. They would be like, how much money do you actually have, and what kind of businesses do you have? What kind of investments do you have? What kind of access to different things do you have? But most important is understanding. I hope this doesn't get cut off. Right? So when I say, the cash flow and investing, really I'm talking about understanding of those things. This is the resource you need to focus on, right? You could imagine, it's almost like, you hear these entrepreneurs, they make millions and then they lose it all, and then they get it right back, right? They start a new business and they get that money right back. Why is it that they can get it right back? It's because the true resource is not in the business that just failed. The true resource is in their mind. It's in their understanding of the world. And so that's another big concept that I've kind of realized over the course of my life in resource management is usually the most important resources are your understanding of things, as opposed to, is it more valuable to have a house that you built, or is it more valuable to know how to build a house? Usually it's more valuable to know how to build a house. So these are some kind of random thoughts that I have on resource management, how I approach my life from the perspective of resource management. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.